Now, knowing Splatoon 3 is being released in 2022, as a huge Splatoon fan, I have a bunch of hopes. Knowing that E3 is just around the corner, basically next month, there is some potential that Splatoon 3 may make a showing in E3, while also maybe fulfilling some of my hopes. In this video, I'd like to share with you guys my top 5 biggest hopes for Splatoon 3. Now, starting off with the very first one thing I would really love to see in Splatoon 3 is a more in-depth training room. Now, currently in Splatoon 2, the training room only goes so far, as we can only shoot a couple of dummies, and then there are some moving dummies, and that is pretty much it. Of course, you could go ahead and paint the wall and do a bunch of other stuff like that, but there are some things that I would love to see that would actually allow you to train aim more than anything. And that would be a dummy challenge. Now, let me explain how this would work. Basically, you are placed into a room, and there would be an X amount of dummies that would pop up at a certain range and stay up for a certain amount of time. They're basically able to pop up in different positions, and your job is to shoot them within that small time period. At the end of the challenge, it will show you a score of how many dummies you are able to hit, if you're able to hit a quarter of them, or if you're able to hit half of them, or if you're able to hit all of them. Basically, you could have like a high score of 15 out of 30 dummies, and it could be something that you could strive to better yourself on. Maybe next time you try to hit 20 dummies out of the 30. Of course, it would be nice if this had like certain difficulties, where on easy mode, the dummies stay up longer, so it gives you more time to shoot. Medium, it goes a little faster, and on hard, the dummies will pop up and disappear extremely fast, which would be nice for veterans to try and warm up their aim. It'd also be really good for people who are wanting to learn gyro control better. Now, if you guys have played this game like I have, you probably would know that a game called Valorant does this exact same thing. Personally, I've been playing a lot of Valorant lately, and for myself, I tend to use this training room pretty much every single time before I start playing. It's just a great way to be able to warm yourself up before just full sending it within ranked games and all that. So if we had something like this within the training room, I would be extremely happy, and I think a lot of other people would appreciate it. Now, moving on to my next thing is something called quick play. Now, in Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2, the only form of quick play is Turf War, where you can basically just jump into the game and play, not having to worry about ranks or anything like that. The thing is about both Splatoon 1 and Splatoon 2 is that, of course, there's some other modes known as Splat Zones, Tower Control, Rainmaker, and Clan Blitz. And the only way you can play those modes is, of course, if you go into a private battle or if you just jump into ranked battle. Obviously, not everyone has 7 friends to make private battles all the time if they want to play those modes, so they are basically forced to play ranked battle. And of course, some people really do care about their rank, and they don't want to have to always feel forced to try their best every single time. It also refrains people from wanting to try new things because they will only try to stick with their best weapon because they're playing ranked and they want to, of course, improve in that. This is basically where quick play comes in. It's practically ranked battle, except there is no ranked. You can play all the game types and all that type of jazz with basically no worry about there being a rank. Going on to my next thing is using money for gear abilities and, of course, less gear chunks needed for sub abilities. Currently in Splatoon 2, we're in this massive problem where all the frequent players are all basically at 10 million Splatoon doubloons, whatever you want to call it. And we practically have no use for this money, and we've pretty much had no use for this money when we started playing this game, besides, of course, buying the clothes, but they're all relatively cheap for how much we play this game. It would be so amazing if we could just use this money to buy gear chunks for our sub abilities, so it's just much less tedious to actually be able to create certain builds in this game. The only way you can make optimal builds right now is either by playing Salmon Run and get a random selection of gear chunks on a random ability, or playing a lot of ranked battle and leveling up a level 1 piece of gear and then scrubbing it for 3 random gear slots that maybe it's not even the one that you want. And get this, to only put 1 sub on a certain piece of clothing, it takes 10 of those subs. just to put 1. And if you wanted to put 2 on that same piece of clothing, it takes 20 more. So adding up, you need 30 subs. And if you wanted 3 on that same piece of clothing, you need another 30 more gear chunks, which would mean you need 60 gear chunks just to complete that trio ability for that one piece of clothing. I can't tell you how annoying that is and how long that type of stuff takes to do. It takes long to just get 10 chunks in general. And honestly, it would be really nice if we could use our money just to buy a bunch of chunks for a certain price. I think the amount of gear chunks it takes to put on one piece of gear just needs to be completely reduced. Make it like 3 or 5, 3 to 5, honestly, and no more than that. The whole gear system right now is very, very tedious, and I really wish it's something that could be changed. So hopefully in Splatoon 3, this is something the devs in their own time had to deal with, unless they just hacked it into the game. That would be funny. But yeah, please, less tedious gear abilities stuff, and let us use our money. Now, the next thing would be more private battle options and accessibility. So as you know, I'm a streamer, or if you didn't know that, hello. Twitch.tv/ThatSrb2DUDE. Currently, my gripe with private battles is I wish I would be able to actually just kick people out that I don't want in the lobby in certain point of time. So the option of being able to do that would be great. Another great thing would be having like a universal code that anybody could join if I just send out the code to people. Now, as a streamer trying to do viewer battles, it's so annoying to only have 300 addable friends. When that number gets capped, you have to delete people and then add more people to your friends list. And then it'll get capped again because you're still at 300. Like, it's not a thing where you're gonna wanna have to delete all 300 people. But you get my point. It's so annoying to basically delete and add, delete and add. I just wanna put a universal code for my people that they can just take from the chat or wherever and then just join the lobby. Of course, I can kick people if I want to, and being able to kick people out of the private lobby if I don't want them in there right now, that would mean, personally, this would be a feature that I'd really love. Please, universal code. They have this in Tetris 99, they have this in Pokemon. Do it in Splatoon 3 as well. It will save so many streamers' lives. And a lot of people who play competitive as well. Lastly, okay, 5th point, a tournament mode that gives rewards. So basically an extra game type where you join up in a squad. You're basically in a top 8 bracket with 8 teams, and basically you can go up through the bracket if you win like a best of 3 or basically 1 match or something. And if your squad wins at the very end of that tournament, you could get like a bonus amount of rewards, maybe like some super sea snails or a briefcase full of money and all that type of stuff. I think it would be good that there's still like participation rewards. So like, let's say you get first rounded out of the tournament, at least you still leave the tournament mode with something like maybe all of you people get 1 super sea snail and the winner at the end gets like, I don't know, 5 or 10 or something like that. Basically, it's so that everyone's benefiting when they're playing. So those are my 5 biggest hopes for Splatoon 3. I have a lot of honorable mentions that I'm going to add within this video. Just before people in the comment section tell me, why didn't I mention this? Don't you want this as well? Honorable mention number 1 would be ranked battle best of 3 format. A whole completely different rank system. I've already made a video for this. If you want to check that video, you can check it here in the description. Another one would be, what if Splatoon 3 had more health? I am currently making a video on this. Not gonna tell you the amount of health, but I think it would be something that would change the game in a lot of different ways, and I think it would be really cool to see as well. Another one would be arcade mode. Also making my own separate video on this. I have a selection of arcade modes that I've developed in my head, and I will give you guys those ideas very soon. Another one, higher tick rate matches. In Splatoon 2, we have been on a tick rate of 12.5 hertz or 16 hertz. That is extremely low for a multiplayer shooter. The tick rate is basically referring to the amount of information that happens within a game. Another one would be frequent DLC updates that apply to the story mode. Basically, this means additional lore and additional single player levels and all that type of stuff. Basically, imagine the Yocto expansion, except 4 more times. Maybe that's too much to ask, but it would be cool to see nevertheless. Another one, a theater mode. being able to save games that you have played and watch them back through the game. It'll be a really nice thing for people who don't have capture cards and want to learn how they can get better on their own gameplay. Something like a theater mode would be extremely great because it allows people to actually process practically everything that was going on in a game that they may have missed. Theater mode, please. And lastly, of course, input lag and response time. Splatoon 2 specifically is something that I have had a big gripe about, of it being extremely laggy within input response. Splatoon 1, of course, did not have that issue. Splatoon 2 has twice the amount of input lag compared to Splatoon 1, which honestly, coming from the first game to the next one, I have never gotten over it. Now, I'm sure, hopefully, since there's a bunch of Switch Pro rumors and all that type of stuff, is that when that console comes out with its OLED display and its beefed up components, this might not be a problem anymore. But it would be something that I would love to see when Splatoon 3 comes out, so I don't have to worry about this issue anymore. And I know that was a lot of honorable mentions, but those are pretty much all the things that I would wish to see in Splatoon 3. As I said before, E3 is just around the corner. We have to wait one more month until we get to see if Splatoon 3 is even there at the first place. I genuinely think there's a really high chance that we're going to see something. I really hope we get a demo or something, or, you know, anything. Or just give me something. If not, then that's okay too. We're going to be surprised by a bunch of different other games as well. But I am going to get myself hyped for it. If you'd like to join my hype train, please come ahead and join my Discord channel, where we can also, of course, talk about Splatoon a whole bunch. And of course, join my Twitch channel too. I stream Splatoon pretty much 5 days a week, and our community is probably one of the greatest Splatoon communities out there. Humble brag, but I think my community is pretty dope. Either way, guys, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for listening to what I guess my hopes are. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Of course, Discord and Twitch, description below. Follow me on Twitter for all those kinds of updates. And honestly, with all that being said, guys, I very much appreciate you guys watching this video, and I shall see you guys in a future one.